Hey everybody, it's Rob, National Fire Radio with Jeremy. We have a special guest tonight in the studio with us. It's Chief Kalman from the Hackensack Fire Department in Hackensack, New Jersey.
Deputy Chief. Of how many years,
Deputy
Chief?
Well, total on the job, 30.
30 years on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute senior man on the job. And,
Well, yeah, there's a couple guys with a little bit more seniority, but
yeah. Well, I think 30 years qualify.
but
you
I'm
as-
in the top few. Let's
Yeah,
put it that way.
I bet. So, but tonight we're very thankful to have you here. I know I've been a fan of some of your work, and I've seen you up at the Fire Academy. You're also an instructor on top of being a chief down in Hackensack, and so on. Can you just give us a little background on Hackensack? Maybe just the size of the department and.
Yes, the size of the department, we have about 100 guys on a job, and that number has varied, give or take a little bit over the years, but the city basically maintains 99 or 100 guys.
Okay.
Our staffing can vary anywhere between 18 and 23 members on duty at a time, meaning it never drops below 18. There's 4 engines, a truck, a rescue, and a chief staffed at all times.
Gotcha.
And we also have a very good callback recall system where we could put companies in service with callback firefighters.
Nice. And about how many annual runs?
Well, right now, the department did last year over 7,000 runs, but
Okay.
the number with that has changed and over the years because of the department provides a first responder EMS
Right.
service.
Gotcha.
And those numbers keep increasing every
sure.
year. And so that kind of disfigures the run numbers because you'd have to really separate it, the actual fire responses from that, and that's not easy to do.
No, right. I get it.
Where the first year I came on a job, I can remember in 1988, there was just under 2,500 runs, but they were all fire runs. There was no such thing as an EMS run at that time.
Right. That's wild. I'm sure you saw some good fires throughout the year, which kind of segues into why we're here and what we like to talk about. And
So remembering your first, in Hackensack, what was the first fire that you had when you were on the line?
The first fire, and I'm having a tough time remembering that actually.
Yeah, okay.
Because towards the end of, I came on the fire department in August 1988 with 6 other members.
Mm-hmm.
5 other members. And we came on in the shadows of the Ford fire. But after that, there were quite a number of working fires and serious fires in Hackensack in the rest of 1988. I know we had several house jobs on my tour, but for the remainder of 88, but we also had a bad fire in a multiple dwelling in early December, where it was like 8:30 in the morning. It was a freezing cold day. It was a wind-driven fire. Occupant left the door open. The apartment was fully involved, and that was a very, very challenging fire. And then 2 days after that, there was actually a daytime house fire that I got called back on where 2 kids died in a back bedroom of a house with bars on the windows, and that was a very emotional and trying fire because somebody was cleaning auto parts with gasoline in the kitchen, and to get to that room, you had to go through the kitchen, and one of our fire inspectors, who was at one time a full-duty, very well-respected firefighter in the 70s, a Vietnam vet type of guy, and he discovered the fire and was trying to pull the bars off the window as the kids were clawing at the windows, and he couldn't get them off, and the guys pushed in there as fast as they could, and it was just heart-wrenching and too late. But there were quite a number of serious fires in Hackensack. In the second half of 1988.
Yeah.
I can remember one that I was working on Spring Valley Avenue in a nice section. We had just finished a building construction class.
In 88?
In 1988.
that's good.
Yeah, well, that was part of the changing culture.
Yeah.
And we had just finished the class, and the guys were going to get something to eat, and the call for a fire came in. It was a house on Spring Valley Avenue. It was out 7 windows, and there was a guy that one of the guys on duty had a mild heart attack there and never returned to the line, and there were others, quite a number of. I can't even remember them all, but those are the ones I do remember in 1988.
88. Now, I'm just looking real quick at your bio. I'm sorry, I thought you were going to jump in. But, just for everybody watching, we absolutely ask our guests to share their bios with us, so we
Sure.
have information about you. And I know you were a volunteer before you were in Hackensack.
Yes.
Do you remember your first
Yes.
fire as a volunteer?
Yes, I
right?
sure.
18-year-old kid, probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
18-year-old kid. You're right. I was
Yeah.
18, and I went on the volunteer fire department of
Right.
Pagoda on engine number 1 when I was 18.
Oh, cool.
And the day I was 18, and the day after I started my firefighter 1
Yeah.
program. All good memories. But I do remember, and again, in those days, the volunteer fire service was different. I remember going to a few fires, but we didn't do anything because we weren't first due.
Okay.
And Pagoda, with 3 engine companies and having a small town, unless it was a real serious fire, there were 1 or 2 room fires that if you were on the 3rd engine, you just stood there, and then 20 minutes later they sent you back to the firehouse and you were going home. But I do remember mine. It was on Good Friday, 1985, and it was on River Road off of Main Street in Pagoda. It was a 3.5-story duplex, and the fire was in the attic. And we were first due, and my dad was driving the engine.
Okay.
So we did what we had to do, and I got some nozzle time in, and it was a very tough fire. And again, I could also remember it and how it's changed. That I think of that fire in today's times and how much mutual aid would have been there. And I do remember the only mutual aid that was called was an additional truck from Richfield Park.
No kidding.
Yes, and there probably was 60 guys there from Pagoda.
That's wild.
Yeah, and that's how the culture and that's how the volunteer service has changed.
without a
And it
doubt.
was literally on the Hackensack border also.
Yeah. So you're talking hip boots, long coats.
Yeah, correct.
And carrying gear on the rig still too, right? I remember as a kid seeing the boots upside down on like the hard suction.
Correct.
And
when I came on, and from what I can remember, we lived fairly close to the firehouse, and I had my gear not on top on the rig.
Right.
And that's the way it was.
Right. The guys that lived further away kept their gear on the rig.
Yeah,
they went right
most
there.
of the guys kept it on the rig, but I didn't. And
you were quick enough to get
yes,
there.
and that's again something that's changed. It was hip boots, a long coat. I still had a non-OSHA approved leather helmet,
right?
And that was it, and a Scott too.
Yeah, how cool.
And the fires went out.
Yeah, they sure did. They sure did.
Hey everybody, it's Robert with National Fire Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Catch up with us on social media. We got
SoundCloud, National Fire Radio, YouTube, National Fire Radio, Instagram, National Fire Radio, and
not least,
Facebook, National Fire Radio. Guys, check us out. Take care. Be safe.